Hello fellow Earpers and welcome back to my weekly Wynonna Earp recap. Today I'm going to talk about episode 204 called She Ain't Right. And I'm going to start with the overall story, so the whole thing with the suitcase, which was with Black Badge, but then taken by some kind of demon who tried to sell it to a group we don't know yet. And just a few remarks. I think cutting off a hand is a bit extreme. It's very easy to pick like standard issue handcuffs, which were these, but anyway, maybe it's that demon's deal. I think he has a thing for cut off hands, however. And also, they kind of have superhuman strength, so I at least had the feeling with Cujo, like the second demon, and this is like an aluminum casing. It would have been possible to just open it if they really wanted to, but all for the storytelling, like the whole combination thing was more interesting anyway. Then I go on to the scene in the club called Bada Bing Bada Bing, where Wynonna comes to rescue Waverly. And I found it really interesting that the demon asks what does EE stand for, and Wynonna turns to Waverly and says don't, because she knows that Waverly is so smart that she probably knows, even though they haven't had a conversation about it beforehand. And outside waiting, of course, we have Lucario. Lucario, who becomes more and more desperate with the season because she clearly doesn't want to be in purgatory. And she tries to find ways to convince her superiors that she should get out of there, but somehow she's stuck in there and she doesn't even get support and other agents, and that makes her more reckless and I think more dangerous, and especially more dangerous for the people she works with. So the Earp sisters, Jeremy, Doc, maybe a bit, but Doc can handle himself. Also, I thought from the beginning on it was pretty clear that she didn't have backup, especially when she was sitting in this car alone. Like, I never had the feeling that she was actually going in there with backup. Maybe the first time she mentioned it, but otherwise no. But Lucario feels a bit downgraded. I love Lucario, especially because she seemed so dangerous at the beginning and now she's kind of a wolf without teeth. So I hope she becomes more dangerous with that desperation, so she tries to take more action herself maybe. Moving on to my guy Jeremy. Everyone who talked to me probably knows I'm heavily in love with Jeremy. And he's finally part of the team. Wynonna trusts him. Yay! And they had a very nice nerd squad scene where Waverly and Jeremy were trying to solve the question of the seal in the ground. And that one I liked very much because I was waiting for this since the beginning of the season, because I had the feeling they would work quite well with each other. Then we had him saving the day with knowing how to take care of the serum for dolls. Also, he saved Wynonna because Wynonna was with a lot of chemicals mixed together that shouldn't go together. So he kind of saved the day this time, at least in one of the many storylines happening. And he's so gay and I love it. Moving on to Rosita. She seemed a bit manipulative in this episode. Maybe she is because she tries to get out of this like blackmailing situation with dolls, with Doc. And is there a thing between her and Doc? I'm not sure. It could just be her trying to get Doc to do what she wants. Also, she's clearly a genius with the whole biochemistry stuff. And the question is, now that they have the serum, is she gonna stick around or not? Not really sure about that, because I think she's not a series regular, but I have to read about that again or just watch the next episode. Works best probably. Moving on to the lizard in the room, which is Dolls. Dolls is finally back, which is very nice because he was kind of missing in the team dynamics, and I think he's really important for Wynonna and also the other characters. I really like the scene where like the evil guy comes into Shorty's and fakes that he has backup, saying, oh, my guys surrounded this place, and it's clear that this is not the case because basically all of his guys got shot by Doc in the scene beforehand. And then he's like, oh, this whole place is gonna be on fire, and then he gets burned by Doll's fire breath. So it's a bit of a karma situation. Also, what the heck is Dolls? But we've been asking this for quite some time. fire breath, although is a new thing. He also has a good chat with Doc about the Wynonna in the room, or not in the room. And they come to kind of an agreement, like they're not in a serious competition about the whole thing. They're more like, okay, Wynonna has to decide anyway, which is very nice, but they also agree on being friends, colleagues, buddies, whatever's going on between the two of them. Doc gets his hat back. So the end of Headgate 2017, I hoped for a complete Twitter campaign, but maybe he loses this hat again. We'll see about that. And then we had the scene when Dawes was lying on the bed and Doc was chaining him to this like post so he didn't go all lizardy and hurt people, where they talked about Juan Carlo, who was actually the one who brought Dawes back to Purgatory, and who said his job wasn't done, and who knew about the seal. So I think Juan Carlo is kind of a very important behind the scenes person. We're just not sure what his role is yet. Maybe he's connected to the Legion or to this guys in the red coat, but this is all like fan theories. Who's interested in that goes to my Twitter account and reads all the things I write up there. Then we thought Mercedes was still alive. There was like this first scene where we were all like, yay, she didn't die. And then it turns out it's just a creepy demon ghost with a face on. Well, thank you, Emily Andras. Also, very nice line with, oh, Beth is just putting on a face, and it was literally her putting on her face. This is a scenario Jeremy could have come up with. And Tucker is clearly becoming like a more evil guy than he already is. Like, I have the feeling he's becoming the real monster, maybe even of the season. And that reminds me a lot of Buffy. We had this like one Buffy season where Willow goes evil, where the actual demons, the actual monsters are humans, and they've been, I think, the most scary ones within the whole, like, not just season but series. So another Buffy parallel. Talking about Waverly and Gooverly. I really liked that in the beginning when she talks to Lucario. It's like, oh, you have to give Purgatory a chance. It's not such a bad place to live here. Coming from Waverly, who lived there like all of her life. Then she learned lockpicking from a YouTube video to get into Bada Bing, which was hilarious, and of course Waverly can pull it off. Then we have this scene where she decides to sing, and that is clearly a decision made by Gooverly, which I have the feeling is very interesting, because it still serves the cause, kind of, like it's Waverly's aim, but the demon inside of her clearly thinks, oh yeah, we're doing a singing number now, and Waverly's just like, what is happening? And then she has to kind of go and do it. So that was a bit weird, but the motive of the demon is not clear anyway. Also, the hand, no, other one, this one. So many lesbian hand jokes for like 5 minutes. This is the only thing I'm going to say about that. Last character we're going to talk about, Wynonna. She finally sees the changes in Waverly, which is very good. And because we've been waiting for this, she also talks to Nicole about it, and they kind of start having this misunderstanding, because Nicole thinks like the behavior changes come from Waverly thinking she's not an Earp, or trying to find out if she's an Earp or not. And Wynonna clearly connects it to something demony, and then they have this conversation, and kind of Nicole understands that there's something more going on than Waverly just trying to find out if she's an Earp or not, because the whole cutlery thing is too weird to just be like a coping mechanism. So we see how Nicole will act in the whole Wynonna situation we're gonna have next week. I think she's gonna play a pretty important role, because she's gonna try to protect Waverly, but is Waverly still her Waverly? Also, Waverly singing amazeballs. Yeah, and maybe in the last thing about Wynonna, I had a feeling everything was getting a bit better for the characters this episode, except for the whole Gooverly situation. Except for Wynonna, because she had to almost shoot people she loved twice, like once dolls when he went all lizardy, and the other time Waverly at the end when she realized Waverly was possessed by a demon. So it really has been a downward spiral for Wynonna, and I'm not seeing it ending soon. Well, maybe at the moment she's not very active because Gunona is at the forefront. I also think Melanie Scrofano really, really enjoys playing an evil version of Wynonna, which we've seen in the sneak peek for 205, that Gunona is a very, very happy demon. So we see how this turns out. Very last thought on the episode. We got another slow motion again. It's like 4 out of 4 at the moment. And we'll see if we get another slow motion for episode 5. I think they fell along with this season, which was hilarious. You might not see it, but yeah, now you see it. I'm wearing my new Welcome to Purgatory shirt, which has been done by Atomic Octopus Designs. I'm gonna put the link in the description because they make pretty cool Wynonna Earp and also Supergirl fan shirts, and if you want to support them, that would be pretty cool. So see you next week. I'm pretty excited about the whole demon possession thing. It already feels like a mid-season finale, the 5 and 6. Last season it was more 6 and 7, but I think shit's gonna hit the fan.